Hey, I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Welcome to the news and why it matters. We have a live studio audience today.
Oh, wow.
Yay! Thank you guys for being
here.
here.
Doing something with me earlier.
Yeah.
And these are the committed ones, the ones who stayed.
Yes.
Riffraff left.
So no pressure. No, there's just people watching us. Don't screw up. Glenn, top story.
I don't know. I think the top story today is the ridiculous response from CNN and the press immediately blaming Donald Trump and everybody on the right for, sending these ridiculous bombs.
Okay. Stu.
I knew Megyn Kelly and the fallout from that little incident.
All right.
Well,
Andrew.
I think what the people want is a story on soybean tariffs.
Yes, soybean tariffs.
Give it to you.
Yeah.
Stop playing to the crowd.
All right, before we get into all of that, I want to thank our sponsor, Riduzone. I don't know if you guys over here watching are aware. I talk about it a lot, but I used to be really large. That's me, the number 10. And so I was really, really big, and some might say fat. And but I lost all the weight, but I still had all of these cravings, and that's what you find a lot when people lose weight. They yo-yo up and down because it's hard to keep the weight off. Riduzone has really helped me. It's basically the good molecule in olive oil that helps boost your metabolism and helps you feel full, so you're not constantly craving things and going to go get snacks.
It's the only way I get through this entire show without pizza.
Let me ask you this. So my wife and I we're gone over the weekend, and my kids are left at home with grandma. And we get a call and say, hey, Mom, Dad, we just want to let you know it really was a mistake. So when you get home and open the refrigerator, don't freak out. Well, they had done, the app,
There
whatever.
was like a head in there.
No, the grandma's head was in there. Whatever the DoorDash or whatever they called, they ordered from Cheesecake Factory. And instead of ordering 3 pieces of cheesecake, they ordered 3 full cheesecakes.
Well, they don't need to apologize for that. That's
what I said.
That's a great mistake.
That's what I said. That is a win-win-win.
Just get a new fridge for the cheesecake.
That's right. That's right.
So your household may need a little extra Riduzone but after all that cheesecake. But you can go to riduzone.com and use promo code THEBLAZE to get 30% off of a 3-pack of bottles. That's a 3-month supply. Riduzone, that's RIDUZONE.com. All right, Glenn.
So CNN, honestly, I so wanted people to find reason. I held out hope that they would find reason, that maybe this would wake them up. They are absolutely dead asleep. There's no one in the media that's going to wake up. They're going to just march off the cliff into the abyss. And they do it every day, and it gets crazier and crazier. We had, 9 now pipe bombs?
Maybe 10.
10 pipe bombs. How many of them exploded?
0 of the 10.
Zero. Has anybody asked, why do these pipe bombs, if you're going to do something in an envelope, you do it so when you open the envelope, you have like a string or whatever, and you open it, it pulls that string, and boom, it blows up. This pipe bomb had a clock on it. All of them had this stupid little clock. For what?
You've seen cartoons.
Right.
Right. That's the only reason why you would have it, is because it's a cartoon bomb. Okay? I don't know about you, but I don't know if I don't trust that my mailman is precise. I'm going to set this one because I know he'll deliver this on the other side of the country at exactly 8:30. So why was there a clock involved? Why did they use PVC pipe? This is the dumbest thing ever. CNN yesterday, there's a level of sophistication here. Really? Because he sent out 10 and none of them worked. There is not a level of sophistication.
Are you mad at the lack of quality in the pipe bomb making?
No, I'm really happy that none of them went off. I am so disgusted by the press, so hungry, so excited that maybe this was done by someone on the right. when history shows us these kinds of things happen from Marxist, socialist, and anarchists. All throughout history, that's who does pipe bombs. This is the most inept. It is more likely that this is someone who was either just a screw-off, is like, hey, you know, it'd be funny, or somebody setting something up for an election. It's just as likely as it is to have somebody from the right that wanted to make a point and they're complete, imbeciles, okay? They come out, they're blaming it on Donald Trump. This is Donald Trump, this is his rhetoric. Then they have to come out with a statement with Brian Stelter that says, no, we're not saying that it's Donald Trump and his rhetoric. We're just saying that Donald Trump and his rhetoric leads to violence. And we're saying it on the day, in the hour that we received this bomb, but we're not saying that's connected. Shut up.
Yeah, we do have that.
You do?
Yeah, his initial statement, if we could play that.
There's no reason to assume motives, to assume anything at this point. But we do know what all of these targets have in common. These are all targets that have been criticized mercilessly by right-wing outlets, by fringe groups on the internet, and by some right-wing commentators. And already there's this awful rush to try to claim it's a false flag operation. Figures like Rush Limbaugh, who have a lot of power, who have a lot of influence, who have a lot of fans, are out there saying awful things.
I love that. We don't know,
but and they never, ever see it. So Michael Glertner, who's a friend of ours from David Glertner, who is from Yale, brilliant guy, love him to death. One of the first guys in fact, the first guy to be targeted by the Unabomber, okay? He has to wear this black glove. It's almost like a Darth Vader thing. He has to wear this pressurized glove because he's in so much pain all the time. Still, he was blown up at his mailbox in 1990 or 91. So he knows a little something about this. He has written an op-ed piece about how the left is just gone insane. There is the best article. We hope to have David on in the next couple of days, but he wrote this op-ed, then Slate goes to try to take this guy apart. Now, he's a professor at Yale. He's a guy who won a $500 million settlement from Apple in court because of his coding. He's not a dummy. Send your best reporter to try to take it out of him. So they're asking, you said that Donald Trump is not a racist? How is that possible? He says, I don't think you understand that men, hardline, wealthy, privileged wasps with Jewish sons-in-law are not racist. He goes on and says about birtherism. What about his birtherism? What is wrong, he says, with calling into question where he was born? A lot of people were not born in America. Don't restrict my freedom to ask questions that are perfectly legitimate, that cast no aspersion unless you choose to take it that way. Most of my best friends were not born in America. The Slate reporter says, well, that's fantastic. If, however, they assert that they were, then I'm within my right to say, wait a minute, you're saying this, but I don't know if I believe that. So you're saying Trump calling into question Obama's place of birth, you didn't find that to be racist or strange? Glertner's answer, 0.0. Not racist, not strange. In fact, I think it would be strange for people not to mention this. It's a political campaign. It's a political campaign in which the most fundamental issue has to do with the qualifications of the other guy for office. Does he meet the bar? Does he even meet the legal requirement? If you don't ask these questions, then how do you know if anyone qualifies for candidate himself? Of course, then he's going to ask them, and loads of people were asking them, including liberals who were opposed to. Yeah, there are lots of reasons to ask obvious questions about people's qualifications. He goes on and on and on, and really takes this guy apart, I think, on racism, because birtherism, and also on Trump's rhetoric. And he does it in a way because he says, look, Donald Trump was not my first choice, my second choice. He wasn't even my sixth choice.
Yeah, I don't think he was not a fan.
Right. He's like,
He was also not a birther either.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not defending him because I want to defend him. He says, I wouldn't have him as a friend. Now, this is a guy that was going to be
He's going to be
in the administration.
Yeah.
He says, I wouldn't even have him as a friend. I'm not a guy that would pick him as a friend. But you have to stop looking at everything and saying, he's a racist, he's a racist, he's a racist, he's a racist, see? And he hates people. Stop. Yeah. Sometimes people can look at things in a different way, and sometimes it's legitimate, which brings us right to Megyn Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, the Megyn Kelly thing's fascinating. It looks like she's going to lose her gig, or has, I guess, lost her gig. At least some reporting is saying she's already lost it. Some are saying they're in the middle of negotiating it. But I mean, I think it's over.
I can't say anything, but I might be taking that swap.
Really? You just
wow.
said something.
Wow.
And look, they used this as an excuse to get Megyn Kelly out. First of all, she was they didn't like her. There was a lot of problems there. She had this little pattern of calling out a lot of the hypocrisy at NBC over things like sexual assault that had been going on there. She was one of the most outspoken people. There was apparently a lot of people there that did not like that, at least reportedly. There's a bunch of people at NBC who didn't like that they brought someone over from Fox News. So she was in a tough situation anyway. And then this thing happened. This is a couple of days ago, which leads to her removal. And I think what's important to look at here, and we're going to play the clip in a second, is how do you judge whether she said something terrible here? What is the actual foundation for the argument that she was being awful? Watch the clip.
You do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on blackface on Halloween, or a black person who puts on whiteface for Halloween. Like, back when I was a kid, that was okay as long as you were dressing up as like a character. There was a controversy on The Real Housewives of New York with Luann, as she dressed as Diana Ross. And she made her skin look darker than it really is, and people said that was racist. And I don't know, I thought, like, who doesn't love Diana Ross? She wants to look like Diana Ross for one day. I don't know how, like, that got racist on Halloween.
So she said the standard thing here is that she was saying that blackface was okay, and that's obviously a controversial statement, particularly for a white person to make. But when you look at something, when someone says something that's controversial like that, it's all about the motivation, right? If a racist in Charlottesville says the N-word, we know what they mean behind that, and we judge that to be terrible appropriately. On the other side of that, when Chris Rock says it in a comedy routine, we know he's trying to be funny and he's maybe making a point, and it's just the way he talks, and we don't look at that and say, well, Chris Rock should never appear on television again. We know the motivation and we judge that motivation. Her motivation here is to say that if you're not being motivated by hatred, why would it be wrong, right? Why would it be wrong? You could say that's correct or incorrect, but we have to look at the crazy double standard that we see here. Hollywood loves Robert Downey Jr. He is he's certainly one of the biggest A-listers there is. Here is his movie Tropic Thunder. You may notice something about him in it.
I don't believe you people.
Huh. What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you people?
So he's in blackface. Let me give you a more recent example. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the show I very much adore, has had scenes where they have used blackface. Now, the motivation for Robert Downey Jr., the motivation for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is not hatred, right? They're trying to say how stupid and silly this is. Only an oblivious moron would want to use these things. But listen to the crowd. Listen to the way the people around him, are talking about this issue. This is talking about they made a remake, or a sequel of Lethal Weapon 6. And they had no one that looked like Danny Glover to play the Danny Glover role. Here they are talking about this, and listen to the crowd on Conan O'Brien. Watch.
You guys are constantly pushing the bounds, sometimes probably stepping over them. I was shocked that you didn't get in any trouble. You did a Lethal Weapon 6 episode.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a still from that episode, and Okay, now
What's the issue?
What's the issue?
What's the issue?
What's the issue is
Oh,
that
my mustache wasn't big enough.
no one gets away with that is not the issue. Your mustache. You can't do that anymore. You guys did it, and again, no blowback. Was there any blowback? Did people?
No, we were playing black people.
Yes.
How can you play black people without getting fully black?
The thing is, blackface, that's like a generality. That's specific Danny Glover face. So you're really only insulting one person.
Yeah. You're only.
You know.
They are really funny, and that is a funny segment. But like, that is the reason why that's okay is because what's the point they're making? They're not making a racial point.
Like I would be interested in hearing from black people on it. I don't know the history of minstrel shows or that kind of thing, but I think the appropriate way to handle that, I think, would have been for people to come on the show and talk to Megyn Kelly about it. She, the following day, was very contrite.
Yeah. She was.
She was very contrite. Yes. You know why she was very contrite? Because NBC was breathing down her neck. There is nothing to apologize for. You're sitting at a table like this. What are we doing? We're all adults. We're exploring ideas. We're talking. She didn't make a statement. She asked a question.
Isn't
it used to be, but is it now? I mean, as long as you're not mocking somebody on Halloween, that's not a reasonable question to ask if you don't know. That doesn't warrant somebody sitting at the table going, Megyn, no. And here's why, okay? All that happened with Megyn Kelly is we learned a lesson. Two lessons. First one, Megyn learned. You came from Fox, okay? What the man did was NBC, somebody went, she is really good. We should hire her and pay her a lot of money. She got a lot of money. Soon as it announced, all of the activists went crazy. You can't hire Megyn Kelly. And NBC suddenly became equally outraged. And they've been trying to destroy her ever since.
Yes.
Okay?
True.
So there's lesson number one. Lesson number two is we can't have a conversation because even somebody who is really smart, who is really intelligent, who can cut you to ribbons, can ask a legitimate question for, I'll bet you, half the country, 30% of the country, 70%, I don't know. Do you have a good reason? Can any of you give me a legitimate, oh, yes, here's why it's wholly inappropriate to have, if you're a big fan of Diana Ross, to go to a Halloween party as Diana Ross, other than political correctness?
No.
Okay. If you're in a complimentary way, right? I mean, we've seen this before.
So none of us have a legitimate answer.
It's just it seems like something that she should probably have known was over the line, but still, I mean,
because of political
correctness.
So all we learned here is that somebody who is really super smart and can cut people to ribbons when the facts can be made to apologize and cry on the air the next day because she's so freaked out by it.
We should be clear, we didn't do this to her. You see,
I know that. No, I know that. I'm so outraged by and I know I shouldn't be outraged. I am so.
Have you read it?
There's a book right over there.
There's a book
it says
that we've
Addicted
read
to Outrage.
Bane of my existence. I'm so done with this world where you can't even talk to one another. You can't say anything. If we are afraid to talk to each other, we are going to continue to break down as a society. If we can't have adult conversations and feel free to say something that is stupid or wrong without being destroyed, all science, all progress, everything stops.
We're going to let Glenn cool off for a second and take a break. We'll be back in a minute.
It is.
I agree.
It's essential.
right thing.
Before we get into soybeans,
Yes, soybeans.
Gotta thank our sponsor, iTarget Pro. Glenn, why are you pointing to him?
All right, okay, I'll talk about it.
It seemed like you were pointing to me like you had a look-alike firearm.
Whoa, that is
level 3.
not P.
So look, if you are a shooter, and that word has to be taken back. That's what everybody calls murderers and serial killers. Oh, the shooter shut up. No, you know what a shooter is? I'm a shooter. I go out and I like to shoot. If you're a shooter, it's really expensive in ammunition. The best thing you can do is trigger control and just practicing over and over, squeezing that trigger and getting that control of that. And, for me, I'm bored by it awfully quickly, sitting in my living room and just pulling my trigger finger. So you can, instead of going out and spending a lot of money at the range, you drop this little device into it. You'll see it there. It's a little laser. It does not shoot the laser out so that you can see it. And so when you shoot, you pull the trigger, and it shows you exactly where a bullet would have gone on your iPhone.
It's kind of like we were talking about this, like a Top Golf for iPhones. If you've ever been to Top Golf, I love it. Yeah, it's a really cool idea. Yeah. I did not know they could do that. I'm amazed by technology.
iTargetPro.com. You can save 10% right now with offer code NEWS. That's iTargetPro.com. All right, want to get to soybean and tariffs. We've only got a few minutes left in the show, so we may have to take this conversation over time. But Andrew.
Well, we're in a trade war, and we're boiling up for it. Soybeans are...
But wait, I heard from Trump that trade wars are easy to win.
They're easy to win. There are no winners in trade wars. There are no winners. And that's, I think, the important thing to know is tariffs, which are happening now. Tariffs are a tax on imported goods. They're a tax that's stopping me, a free American citizen, from purchasing something from somebody else. I firmly believe that if you want to have a consenting relationship with another adult, whether it's sexual, romantic, economic, or whatever, go for it as long as you're not hurting anybody else. In this case, that's being stopped, or at least it's being taxed. And that's not just an abrogation of my freedom and your freedom. It's also hurting the people that are involved in the economy. Because if I'm, say, Ford, which is one of the people affected not by soybeans, but by aluminum and steel tariffs, they have to import that. It's higher in cost, and as a result, they have to increase prices. Caterpillar, which designs a lot of farming equipment, it's down by I think 30% the stock. And with soybean farmers, the thing that I find the most odious from somebody that likes a free market is that they're getting butchered in international sales, and as a result, the government's having to step in and bail them out. So we're adding taxes and bailouts to this, and you could just leave it alone, and everybody would prosper.
Yeah, we now have the highest steel prices in the world because of these tariffs. The highest in the world. So
who's going to be buying? Who's going to be? They did this so they could save the steel jobs. Who in the world's going to buy the steel from us when you get it from Germany at a cheaper price?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Maybe it's locally grown organic steel or something.
Okay.
But it hurts a lot of people involved, and it hurts the economic sectors that are affected by it. Mercantilism's not a good idea.
This coupled with unrest, coupled with the election, if the Democrats grab the House, I just think we are headed for economic trouble, real economic trouble.
It's not like
although
you to be doom and gloom.
The Democrats are arguably going free market in terms of tariffs, aren't they? I mean, the standard bearer of the Republican Party is
only because they're against Trump.
It's funny
to get them to do anything. They would be like, I'm the Democratic, flag burning amendment is coming. If Donald Trump said, you know what, I think it's cool to burn the flag, they'd be against it.
It's amazing. I mean, one of the only positives of this whole tariff situation is how pro-free trade CNN is now.
A lot of progressives have learned about free markets as a result of this.
All of a sudden, they love it. Now, I think that dries up like a desert the second he leaves office, but it is interesting to see.
I contend you could have him pull the trade barriers down and make a big speech about how he pulled these out and how it's going to be good for America. And I will bet you the next day, CNN will be saying it was a mistake to pull those trade barriers down.
It's hurting American workers.
Yeah, we got to go. Back in a minute.
Incredible.
Glenn, you're going on tour next week, right? Is when it starts?
I think we are.
So are you going with him?
Yes, next week. Very excited about it.
Everybody's yelling at us all the time. They're like, "You've got to write something. You got to do something." We're like, Stu and I are like, "It's not our first rodeo. We got it. Yeah. We got it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got it." Grab your tickets now at glennbeck.com/tour.
And we will see you guys in overtime.